Welcome to Track Your Time, Make More Money. I'm your teacher, Jennifer Dwan-Faltz, founder of Chief Executive Ante. I love time tracking. I started my business in 2017 with an 8-month-old baby at home, and I basically only could work during nap time if there was a nap time that day. So I learned to be really efficient and make sure that I was getting the most value out of the precious time that I had. A little bit about me. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and am now based in Indiana. I help BYWOC business owners earn more money, and I have been skydiving. I never need to go again, but it is fun to say that I've been before. So let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to learn 3 important things: why time tracking matters for your business, how to set up a tracking system, and some important numbers you need to know about your business. So first of all, why is time tracking so important? It can be kind of difficult to set up. It can be tedious to remember to do it. So why bother in the first place? Well, time is the ultimate limiting factor for your revenue. You can always raise your rates and earn more money, but you can never get back time that you have spent. Once it's gone, it's gone. And so I like to tell people to set up a time budget, just like you would set up a budget for money. And the first step in putting together your time budget is figuring out how much you have and what you're spending it on. Tracking your time helps you estimate project fees more accurately because you have an idea what a previous project of a similar scope or maybe similar type of project, how much time that took you. It helps you predict your availability better. When you can accurately gauge how long a project is going to take you, you will have fewer instances where, oh my gosh, I thought this project was going to take 10 hours and it's taking me 20 and I've already booked another one. Or you'll have the opposite problem where you say, oh man, I thought this project would take 10 hours and it only took me 5. And now I'm just twiddling my thumbs because I didn't go get another project. When you track your project time accurately, you will have a better idea of how to scope your own availability as well. And finally, time tracking shows you how much you really need to be charging, because not only do I want you to track your project time, I also want you to track all the time you spend on your business, the marketing, the sales, the onboarding and offboarding, the business development, the education. Let's look at an example of what happens to the money that you make. So let's say you spent 40 hours on various projects this month and you billed those hours at $50 an hour, which is $2,000. Then you have to take off your monthly expenses. So that's your G Suite, your Adobe Creative Cloud, your web hosting, all of those recurring business expenses that you have. Let's assume that averages out to $200 a month. Okay, so that's $1,800 left. Not bad. Oh, but then you got to pay taxes too. So assume 25% off. Obviously, consult a tax professional for your tax responsibility. Let's use 25% as a ballpark. So that's $450 off. And so now you're left with $1,350. If you take that $1,350 and divide it by the 40 hours that you spent on those projects, that's $33.75 an hour, which is pretty respectable. But you probably didn't just spend 40 hours working on projects. You probably spent time on marketing your services. You probably spent time doing bookkeeping and accounting. You probably spent time maybe developing a new product or service line. And so let's take another 40 hours of unbillable time spent on all of these peripheral tasks that you have to do for your business. And that's not an exaggeration. Most of the business owners I've talked to spend about a 50-50 split between billable and non-billable. So you take your $1,350 and instead of 40 hours, you're actually splitting it over 80 hours and suddenly you're only netting $16.88 an hour. It's still the same amount of money, but when I think about the hourly rate, I realize, oh, I guess I could just go work at Starbucks as well. Not that there's anything wrong with working at Starbucks, but if you're working for yourself, I assume that you want to be making a better hourly rate than what you might in a salaried position. And so learning where your unbillable time goes will help you determine how to price yourself appropriately. So it can be very simple to start tracking your time. You just download a time tracking app and start recording everything that you are doing. I find it easier to have a bit of a system in place before I start tracking so that I already have labels and categories for all of the different things that I'm doing. So when you start tracking time, the first thing you need to do is to list your different services. The reason we want to do this is to have an idea of which services are the most profitable, because you're also going to be tracking your income, hopefully, how much you invoiced for this project, how much did you invoice for all projects of a certain service type. And so when you can start matching up the income with the time that you spend on them, you can understand which services are the most profitable or which ones have the highest hourly rate for you. You don't have to limit yourself to the most profitable services that you have in your business, but it's helpful information to know which one is going to give you the most bang for your time. So if you're a photographer, maybe you do family, maternity, or senior sessions, list all those different kinds out. If you're a graphic designer, maybe you do logos and you do social media and you also do websites. So list those different types of projects. If you're a PR consultant or a consultant of any kind, you probably have a full service version, maybe a done with you, kind of helping them set up their own system version, and then maybe a one-off consultation. So make a list of all your different types of services. The next thing you want to do is list all your other activities. And this is important because the time you spend on these other activities related to your business is time that you could be earning money. And so we need to know how much time you're spending on all of these other areas. These activities can be sorted into 6 broad categories. So marketing, which is anything you do to get your business in front of people. So social media, email, going on a podcast, running a webinar, that sort of thing. The next category is sales. So anything you do to book a project. That's getting on a sales call or emailing back and forth with a potential client, scoping their project, writing their proposal. All of that falls under the sales process. Next category, and I sometimes lump these two together in with the service category because I don't do these things until after I have gotten that first payment. Onboarding and offboarding, do you have a kickoff or a send-off meeting? Do you have project management software that needs to be set up for each client? Do you have to gather materials, send invoices, put together a set of user instructions after you're done with the project? All of that stuff falls into onboarding and offboarding. Operations, that's your general business stuff that you have to do in order to keep running. So accounting and bookkeeping, keeping your website updated, managing subcontractors if you have those in your business, setting up new systems and tools, all of that falls under operations. And then finally, business development. If you continue having professional education where you learn new skills, going to conferences, networking could fall under business development or marketing, kind of depends on how you think about it, but make sure you put that somewhere in this system. If you are developing a new product or service line, that also falls under business development. So make a list of all these activities and then you'll have them ready to put into your time tracking app, which is what I'll show you next. To actually track my time, I use an app called Timular, and you can also get this fun little time tracking device to go with it. You don't have to, though. You can use the app for free, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So you can go to timular.com and download the free app, install it on your desktop, and I'll show you how to set it up. So once you install the app, it looks something like this. You have a couple different tabs you can go to. The one you'll probably spend the most time in is the calendar. If you don't have the tracker, you don't have to worry about this tracker tab here. And then I also like to look under insights for the reports. But to set up your tracking app, and I'll make a new space here. I've got a lot going on here, but I'll show you how to set up the basics. So sample space here. And so once you have your space set up, you can add an activity, and I like to sort my activities. And again, my system is very granular at this point, but if you're just starting out, you can just put your different service types. So I'm going to pretend to be a graphic designer, which I am not, but I'm going to pretend. So I have one service type, which is logo design. And I have another service type, which is social branded images. You can make these service categories as big or as small as you want. Too small, and then you end up with a category for every single new project that you do. Too large, and then that doesn't necessarily tell you a whole lot about the different types of work that you do. So the other thing I like to do is color code everything that is billable. This is what clients will give me money to do, right? Clients will not give me money to market myself, at least not directly. My prices do cover that on billable time. I change the icon color for all of the billable work so that when I go to my reports, I can kind of see all of that at a glance. And then you can add your other activity categories. So marketing, put sales on here. And I'm just going to do a couple for the sake of time. Sales, marketing, operations. So I've got my main categories of work. And so to start tracking, I just press this little play button here. I can either add a note here, or when I stop tracking, I can add a note, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. To give yourself more information that you can use, I like to add tags. And so Timeler has two types of tags. There's the @ tag, which I use for clients, and you can create a new client whenever you do this. Then there's the hashtag that I use to kind of delineate sub activity. I'll put a project name. So I name that project like that. And then when I'm done, I just press the stop button. You can also go back and change an entry on here. So this is my entry for making slides and videos. But let's say I wanted to add a meeting. I have a tag on there that is for meeting. I'm going to delete that because I don't want that on here. So you can use these different tags to give yourself more information about each of your different time entries. Like I said, I like to tag by project, and then I tag my meetings. You can also tag different events as billable or non-billable. I just go by the activity category, so I don't have a separate tag for that. The other thing that I have started to do, and let me see if I can show you an example here. The other thing that I've started to do is for project types, I have sub activities. So I create courses for clients, and I have now set up a system where I have an outlining tag, a workbook building tag, a sales page building tag, all for different steps in the process. And I like doing that because I can look back at a project and say, okay, this was a 30-page workbook. It took me 7 hours to write the thing and 4 hours to go over revisions with the client and 10 hours to work with the designer on the workbook, or whatever the case may be. When I break it out into those little individual parts, that gives me more information. So the next time I do a workbook, let's say it's a 60-page workbook, and I can say, okay, well, it'll take me longer to write for sure. It's probably not going to take me any longer to write the sales page for a 30-page workbook versus a 60-page workbook. Probably doesn't make a difference. So just kind of knowing what the different components of each project for more complicated projects, that helps me next time when I'm scoping a project that is similar. And then to look at your reports, you come over here to Insights. And let me clear this out for you. And you can select by today, this week, this month, this quarter, this year, last week, last month, last year, all of those things on there. And so that gives you information with trends over time. So I can show you, let's see, this quarter, I have worked 240.5 hours. This part here is sorted in order of size. So the activities that you spend the most time on will be at the top, and the activities you spend the least time on will be at the bottom. This is the pro version. The basic app will not have the trends, I think, or this time graph, but what they will have is a list of the tags. So what I can do Let's say I want to see how much time I spent on course creation projects. And I can see that on here. It's almost 40 hours. And then I also want to see how much time I spent on this particular project that's labeled 5 curricula. So I find the tag and it shows me how much time I spent on that project. So you can pull a lot of different stats from the insights page. Some of the numbers that I like to pay attention to are specific projects. So I will tag a project and everything I do in that project goes under that tag, and I can see how long that project took me. Again, like I said, I also like to break down sub tags for different phases of the project so that I know what each different phase took so I can estimate future projects. I also like to look at my data by client and see how much time have I spent with that client each month or week or quarter. And that kind of helps me know which clients are good to work with and which relationships are particularly worth cultivating. I give all my clients the same level of customer service because that's just how I run my business. But it's useful to know, say, hey, I have spent 60 hours with this person this year, send them a little gift at the holidays or something like that. I also keep track of my total billable time and my total work time and the ratio of those two things. So, like I said earlier, most business owners that I've talked to, it is very hard for them to get significantly above 50% billable time. So most of them will spend half of their time doing the work that they love and get paid for and get excited about, and half of the time on the less glamorous running of the business part. I found that the more I can nudge that billable percentage up, the happier I am. One, because I'm getting paid for more of my time, and two, I'm spending less of my time on some of the drudge work of running a business, and that's just inevitable. So those are some of the numbers that I pay attention to. And then I start factoring in my income with this. So I will look and see, okay, this quarter I had 3 projects that were course projects. How much money did I make from those 3 course projects? And then I go look at my time and I said, okay, I spent X number of hours on course projects. So I get kind of an hourly rate per project type. And that's really useful for me to see. Again, to just notice which projects tend to be the most profitable. It doesn't mean I can only do those, but it's just useful to know where things sit with that. And so you can do a couple of things with this information. As you calculate your overall hourly rate, your hourly rate per project, your hourly rate before and after expenses, and before and after non-billable time. As you calculate all of these things, you might find yourself wanting to increase that hourly rate, which I really support and encourage you to work towards. There's 3 ways that you can do that because it's a fraction, right? So your hourly rate is your amount of money earned divided by the time it takes to earn it. And so to increase that rate, you can either increase the amount of money that you earn, you can decrease the total work time. So that means doing the same amount of work in less time, or something that maybe covers a little bit of both. You can spend more time on billable work and less time on non-billable work. Basically meaning that you get paid for more of the time that you spend working in or on your business. And the way to sort of improve that ratio of billable to non-billable time, one, that happens fairly naturally over time as you just get better at what you're doing and you burn less time on some of the process stuff. But you can also consider investing in tools to help you automate some of your processes rather than spending an hour emailing back and forth with the client to schedule an appointment. You invest in something like Calendly that just lets them click on a link and pick a time that works for them. And there you go. You saved yourself an hour. Or instead of you having to remember and then make time to manually send a proposal and then a contract and then an invoice, you kind of have a business management software that does all those steps in sequence for you. The other way that you can improve your billable to non-billable time ratio is to outsource. Have somebody else help you with your marketing or updating your website. The things that you are not a specialist in, you can pay somebody else to do those things for you. And I know it can be very scary to think about spending that kind of money on your business, but here's an important thing to remember. Software and money that you pay to contractors, that's deductible as a business expense. Your time spent on non-billable work is not deductible. It's just burned time that you could be earning more money. When I thought about it that way, that really kind of helped me wrap my head around, okay, $10 a month for a tool that saves me several hours of time actually is a pretty good deal, especially when I can charge $175 an hour. Spending $10 a month to save me even half an hour of time is well worth it. So just don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to look for ways to make your business more efficient. You will have more energy for creating the work that you care about. You will have more time to create the work that you care about. And I think it's a really good investment. The other thing to do as you track your time, and I do recommend that you track your time on an ongoing basis. I still do it now, but if you're just kind of getting started or wanting an idea of where to set your prices, I would track your time for at least 2 months to get yourself a baseline. But as you track your time and you look at your hourly rates and all these things, look at your pricing. Are you accounting properly for the time you spend updating your website, posting on social media, responding to email, delivering good customer service? Because that is really the difference between someone who's a freelancer as a hobby and someone who's a business owner, is that level of customer service. Time tracking can be a really powerful tool to help you make decisions about your business. The numbers don't lie. You go through your time logs and you realize, I worked 20 hours this week and I spent 15 of them on stuff that didn't earn me any money. I need to do something about that. I always believe in having numbers and data and facts to make your business decisions on rather than fear. I know it's very easy to make decisions based on fear, but when you get some evidence and data instead, you can really help your business grow quickly. If you find all of this number stuff overwhelming, that's okay. You're not alone. Head on over to my website, chiefexecutiveauntie.com, for blog posts, resources, downloads. I have a freelance rate calculator that you can download. I have a spreadsheet for calculating your hourly rate for different types of projects, different months. I have lots of different resources on my website. You can also follow me at Chief Executive Auntie on Instagram for advice on running a business and a whole lot of transparency about what my business really looks like under the hood. You can also contact me at jenniferdwanfaltz@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to connecting.